Hello everybody, welcome back to the HCT Winter Championship. My name's TJ, I'm joined by the Admiral. That's admirable.
What's up?
And it's quarterfinals time.
You might not know it because TJ's blocking out his part of it because he missed his mark on the desk here, but you notice me leaned over because I didn't actually have time to hit my mark in time
It's
either.
the cutie finals.
This is what
It's
they
the
have.
quarterfinals.
Everybody deals with us. How? I know how I deal with it. I think it's funny.
But one of these players, well, actually, no. One of these players is already going to the World Championship. Jing has a chance to also book his spot to the World Championship. But the incredibly bizarre scenario of it is, even if he loses, he could still qualify. But it is a spot in the top 4, and that's what these players are fighting for.
I'm actually surprised that that's the incredibly bizarre part of it to you. The incredibly bizarre part of it to me is that Viper has brought Malagos Rogue, Murloc Paladin, Odd Mage, and his Hunter Band away. And on Jing's side, we have Tempo Pirate Rogue, a Zoo Warlock that features about 18 or 21 cost cards. Like, this is highly unusual for what we've seen in tournaments pretty much throughout this entire season. If you count the Asia-Pacific playoffs, Europe playoffs, America's playoffs, all 3 of those had some pretty wacky decks in them, but not to this success. I mean, there's 2 Shadow Blades in Jing's Road deck, and I don't think I've ever played with Shadow Blade for more than like 2 games in a row.
Yeah, it's a deck that's rising in popularity a little bit, and it kind of fits that aggro lineup, I think even better than Odd Rogue in the current metagame, with how tempo-oriented it is, still can make great use of Myra's Unstable Element, especially with the Faldori Striders. But yeah, just 2 aggro lineups facing off against each other, but Vipers isn't a true aggro lineup, and that's where I think he could falter, is because he has the Malagos Rogue, which has already been susceptible to huge losses against decks that it's supposed to beat a lot of the time. And now it's going up against decks that it's not really ever supposed to beat. And he's got to find a win with it in order to move on to the top 4.
So that's what he's got his work cut out for him for. I agree with you, TJ. I think that the Malagos Rogue is the deck to look out for. If Viper's going to win this set, he needs to get that win through. But we're starting out with Murloc Paladin versus Even Paladin. Usually it's been the Gen Greymane Baku conundrum. I didn't really think I'd run into the Murloc War Leader side of things.
Yeah, and this is just kind of a battle of consistency versus I'm going to get you sometimes. Which Even Paladin is always going to have stuff to play on the board early on because they can just hero power every single turn. But Murloc Paladin has the potential for really crazy fast starts, especially when they're on the play and not on the coin. That's a Murloc Tidecaller. That's a Rockpool Hunter. That's a great start for Viper.
This is the classic Hearthstone that I've come to know and love. The good old 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop. Can you deal with that?
Yeah, the good old, these are all neutral cards.
They're just all good.
They're just all good. That is right. And Jing does not have a fantastic early game. Consistency is okay, but he's going to struggle to deal with this very fast start.
I think so as well. You
know,
know,
right side is that True Silver Champion.
Yeah, the thing I'm looking for in this particular game is that Viper's going first, which is a major advantage to the style of deck that he's playing. And I think Jing here is wise to really consider this acidic Swamp Ooze. Coining it out, I don't have a problem with, but my eyebrow is a bit raised right now with the way this hand is working. I don't think that his 1/1 is ever going to really make a difference in the game, and I think that's what he's really considering is how do I make a difference in this game? And if that answer is draw a 2-cost card, so be it. But now, the Acidic Swamp Ooze has been checked by a Bluegill Warrior, which is something that I really didn't think I was going to end up saying this tournament. And suddenly, Viper has a pretty crushing lead on this game right now.
Yeah, and honestly, this is what kind of scares me the most is Jing needs this matchup. Jing needs to put a win through with this Even Paladin because even though he does have a good matchup against the Malagos Rogue,
that's the one where he's susceptible.
That's the one where he's susceptible, at least the most susceptible. He does have Mojo Master Zihi, but honestly, Malagos Rogue, if they can assemble like the nuts combo for Malagos Rogue, it can win. on turn 6, which is one of the reasons why Viper brought it, or was 6 mana rather.
Yeah.
Apologies.
I do agree with you in totality, though. Looking at Viper's lineup and looking at Jing's lineup, I'm concerned for Jing's Even Paladin. I'm concerned for Viper's Malagos Rogue. I think in totality, though, it leaves Jing with an advantage.
Yeah. So now Viper, with coin being used by Jing, the world is his oyster. He can do pretty much whatever he wants because he knows that until turn 4, Jing can't really answer anything. His turn 2 plays consist of Amani Berserker, Argent Protector, Crystal Smith Kangor, Hydrologist.
Yeah.
Plus a Hero Power or a Secret if it's Hydrologist.
It's looking bad. I mean, the coin play was a risk that Jing took. He said to himself, I need to draw a 2-cost card.
Yeah.
Didn't draw a 2-cost card. And you're like, well, that them's the break sometimes.
Yeah.
The Acidic Swamp Boost, if that would have been a 2-3 instead, this also would have averted the disaster to a certain degree. But, you're still checked on the exact same spot by Rock Pool Hunter being able to trade over the minion.
Yeah. I honestly like Blessing of Might here on this Murloc Tidecaller. That may seem weird, but the thing is, he can't answer.
Yeah, I actually personally am a little bit surprised by the Righteous Protector too. I think that Viper's just really thinking ahead about what's his best draw, and it's probably Gentle Megasaur and just trying to get the payoff from Gentle Megasaur next turn rather than, having to face down a 1/1 that could potentially get Blessing of Kings and punish a play like that.
Yeah.
So I do agree that the Blessing of Might is stronger in the immediacy, but very much so something that I've noticed a lot in this tournament and really over the last several tournaments of this year since the tour stop system had come into play and there was so much more to watch. Some of the greatest players are constantly accounting for what is the best draw in their deck and how do they best set that up. And sometimes that causes them to have a less good play in the immediacy so that their draws just compound the issue that much more.
Yeah.
It's time for a little blood.
Also gives him the extra attack or Righteous Protector in case he needs to attack into Hydrologist Seeker or something like that. With the Hero Power turn 2, it would have to have been off the top, but not the best just card quality in Viper's hand, but a significant board lead. And now we're going into turn 4 for Even Paladin, which is the power turn. But the thing about the turn 4 for Paladin is there's so many things you have to account for. There's Spellbreaker, Consecration, True Silver Champion, Blessing of Kings, and Corpse Taker.
Yeah.
5 very powerful cards on turn 4 that all do very different things that require different circumstances for you to play around.
He needs to really think about Consecration in this instance too, because if he's going to account for Blessing of Kings and Corpse Taker and such, and Spellbreaker, trading makes a lot of sense. But if you end up trading the board down in this spot, you're going to leave a 4/1 Murloc Tidecaller, a 2/2 Rock Pool Hunter. If you just take the obvious kind of looking trades in this spot, and then Consecration would just blow you out of the water. Every single one of Viper's plays is likely going to leave him vulnerable to something.
Yeah, and a cool little stat there at the bottom that gives you a good picture of how these guys got through their groups. Jing has only lost a single game in his path to the quarterfinals. Viper struggled a little bit more, but the theme here is they're both playing aggressive lineups in a field full of anti-control, which is just a recipe for success. So this is kind of the middle ground. It's decent against Consecration. It's decent against True Silver because it can still only take out one of your minions. Spellbreaker doesn't have a great target. I guess Murloc Tidecaller's good.
That's a great target.
But he's got Blessing of Might to follow it up if this Argent Squire goes untouched, which is a boon.
Yeah, and to me, this is part of the payoff that Viper got for playing the 1/1 as well, is that he gets to mold the Blessing of Might to perhaps reload in a situation where Jing has been able to answer minions or deliver a really big blow if he sticks a Divine Shield minion on board or what have you.
Yeah.
To me, Jing is in a spot where he would love to use True Silver Champion because he needs to get back tempo, but honestly, I'm just not sure he has the liberty of doing so. And when I hear that myself say that, I start looking at the Glass Knight and I start looking at the Spellbreaker being my major 2 options. But True Silver looks awfully appealing in this spot.
The Glass Knight has the benefit of being able to trade next turn and gain the healing from True Silver Champion.
That might just be too slow,
yeah.
is really what I'm thinking.
Yeah. Spellbreaker allows you to trade over a Murloc and still leave something on the board, which gets rid of the power of Gentle Megasaur a little bit.
The something that's on board is quite important too. The fact that it bumps itself up to 5 attack because it's damaged, as though he's enraged, if you will. Fun fact, that's not a keyword. anymore.
It's not. No. That fact wasn't very fun. That was just a fact.
I think it's fun. It's, 2 lines of text to explain the thing it was explaining anyway.
Sure. Okay.
Maybe enrage turns into a different keyword. Ah. Ooh, my head.
I wonder.
Imagination. Mm-hmm. It's because I meditate.
Put this apple on your head.
All right, but they're running out of steam.
Reporting for duty.
That juggler knows where he wants to go.
Yeah. I mean, base is honestly the best target because the breakpoints for these trades are not great.
It did say to put the apple on your head. It didn't say put that apple on Amani Berserker's head.
All right, so let's see what the trades can be. Can kill is 4-1, so that's 4 damage that's going to the face. Can he take off enough damage? He can make 2 trades, so the most power he can take off the board is 5.
Then you truce over the
You truce
something.
over. You'd have to. You could
The
truce
biggest
over the
one.
1-1, and you go down to 8
you
with
truce
6
over the
showing on
2-3.
board. And then you can Crystal Smith Kangor next turn.
Giddy up.
Reporting for
That's
duty.
the only way to survive, and Viper needs, what, 2 damage off of this?
Yeah, he needs 2 damage. And so looking at the deck list for Viper, that's Leroy Jenkins, that's Blessing of Kings, that's Sunkeeper Tarum. Murloc Warleader would be out of the equation if Jing kills the 2-3 in this spot.
Yeah, but if he kills the 2-3, he leaves up the Juggler.
I was thinking trade 5-2 over 4-3. I'm sorry, over 3-4 rather.
And then truce over champion and Juggler.
Yeah, so just truce over one of the 2 attack minions and then, fully trade off the 5-2 in the meantime.
All right, a lot of outs here. Divine Favor could get him enough.
Megasaur is not a payoff right now. But Viper does have the benefit of being able to, kill off the 4-1 if he'd like. And that puts Jing's only 2 ways to kill the Argent Squire in this spot down to, using a weapon attack. And, that's going to effectively eliminate him here. For Viper, I think that, the big decision is whether or not you attack the 4-1 with your 1-1. He's going to play Gentle Megasaur and use Hero Power this turn.
Yeah. Jing does have Crystal Smith Kangor, so he'd be able to gain 4 health from the Truce over Champion swing. So he'd be at
3 facing a Megasaur.
Yeah. Spikered Steed, though. Doubt Viper's going to trade into that 1-1.
Reporting for duty.
Yeah, he's definitely trading over the 4-1. Although trading over the 1-1 actually does have some merit when you think about that, because the Megasaur's threatening lethal anyway. Because your opponent's going to be at 7. They'd go up to 11, go down to 7. No, they would not. And now Consecration picked up. So Crystal Smith Kangor Consecration here actually keeps Jing completely alive.
He'd be at 2 health, all things said and done here. He trades over the 1-1, Consecrations, attacks with the Truce over Champion, and leaves Crystal Smith Kangor on board. He'd go up to 7, go down to 2. So he would only be dead in that case
To Leroy.
to Leroy or Bluegill Warrior.
Or Call to Arms fetch Bluegill Warrior, or Call to Arms fetch a Juggler. Both Juggles go face. The
Yeah.
Juggler has to come first in that instance, though.
Yeah. Divine Favor could give him an out.
Let me
But Crystal Smith Kangor, Divine Shield Lifesteal, Viper is not removing that.
Yeah, honestly, like, that has to be a nervous feeling from Viper that rather than just quit the game that Jing has done this and continues playing, like, what's going to happen here.
Must move quickly.
And, Viper, you see the reaction there, like, oh, this is not good. Like, this suddenly went from what looked like a blowout victory to, Jing has come back in this game. And so much of it was picture-perfect tempo plays on defense there.
Yeah.
Think to the Ooze on the coin. Think to the Spellbreaker on turn 4 instead of the Truce over Champion. Or the Glass Knight and trying to get greedy with value.
Reporting for duty.
And Viper sits back in his chair. He knows if he loses this matchup, his odds, Blessing of Kings.
That's game.
That is a 10 health heal. And that is probably game.
No, that's definitely game. Viper's not dead yet, but he's not going to win.
Yeah.
That is the recovery right there. That's Reno Jackson on a stick.
That takes 3 turns to get all the way back up. But
12 is basically
12 is basically 30
yeah.
in this case.
If Reno Jackson only healed Jing to 12 at this point, he'd still be fine drawing it.
Reporting
Yeah.
for duty.
It's time for a little blood.
Yikes. Needed Divine Favor, needed Call to Arms.
Needed those last turn.
Yeah.
Or the turn earlier.
Let me think.
I mean, you got to think back to Viper's turns and say, could he have pushed more damage? And I think the answer is no. I just think Jing sequenced a not great start into pretty much the only path for this game that gave him an out to victory. And I mean, pick your poison here.
Actually, oh yeah, Tyrion's in the list still, so that does have Divine Shield. I was actually thinking to myself, does that have Divine Shield taunt still in? But yeah, it does. And all the way up to 21. Viper has literally no cards left in hand or in the board.
Yeah.
And actually, I think that's what Jing's thinking about as well. Like, wait a minute, if I just play Mojo Master Z here, do I shut off like Divine Favor and Call to Arms? Or rather just Divine Favor?
I think he's trying to think the best way to play around a possible Sunkeeper Terran.
Play all your cards.
And that's play all your cards, play as much stuff as possible.
A lot of things to think about in that spot. Viper, on the other hand, it's think about game 2, because Jing's off to a 1-0 start, and a very close one at that. I mean, I don't think you could possibly get any closer in a game than what just happened. Not in this matchup, anyway.
I love those kinds of games. On a razor's edge, they're fast-paced games, but are played at a slow pace just because there's so many things to think about. And that crucial turn 4, some of the trades from Viper, whether or not to go face, whether or not to trade to try and protect higher priority minions, that's good old-fashioned Hearthstone right there. Minion combat.
And honestly, even thinking back to the Righteous Protector over the Blessing of Might, you had suggested that you wanted to play Blessing of Might.
I did.
That would have pushed extra damage for Viper in that game.
Yeah, would have pushed a ton more. A lot of decisions to be made, but at the end of the day, Jing comes out on top in game number 1 with a crucial victory. Top 4 spot on the line. Will Jing be able to close it out? Or will Viper make yet another top 4 to championship? Find out right after this.
我是凌乱镜，虽然我是个新人，但是我足够努力，然后心态现在也放得比较平和，然后这次比赛我会就是把自己表现到最好，把自己的风格也会展现到极致吧，然后希望大家能够支持我。我的专业是传媒学，然后其实我学的专业和我现在现在从事这个炉石竞技，我认为是或多或少有一些联系的。就是我会把之前在学校学到一些专业知识，去用到竞技炉石，所涉及到的其他一些层面吧，比如说比赛解说，或者是做主播这些类型。所以说我还是蛮热爱我的专业的，也蛮热爱炉石，对。我认为就是一对一的这种竞技比赛是能完全的，印证，就是能够证明自己的实力吧。另一方面的话，我认为就是竞技炉石，也会给我带来一些就是生活中的一些乐趣吧。就每次去参加竞技比赛，会认识到更多的朋友，还有就是和我一样足够对炉石有热爱的这种。一帮热血青年，所以说在这个过程中也收获了自己的友谊，所以我非常热爱竞技炉石。如果我夺冠的话，我认为原因的话一定是源于我首先最主要的是对炉石足够的热情和投入。虽然口头上说是运气，但是运气往往都会站在那个就是足够准备足够充分，而且表现足够好的那一边。所以，我虽然一直在强调运气，但其实我更多的是在比赛中尽量的把自己做到最好。然后，我认为自己做到最好，那个所谓的运气就会偏向你这边。
I'm Viper. I'm from Magdeburg in Germany. Everything kept on going. Even after I qualified for Worlds, I still wanted to I essentially just win the next tournament. I went into every tournament with like the same ambitions. I just wanted to win. I wanted to perform well, and it kind of would be cool to be the role model of other players. In terms of, if you think some deck is good, if you think whatever you're doing is right, then just do it. Just believe in yourself, and sometimes, I don't know, Peanut Shaman is a good deck.
And the Viper is going to the next round, to the championships, in fact.
All of the media stuff that happened from 2016 championship throughout 2018, all the tour stops, then casting the German HCT together with Kamlan sometimes. It's a nice feeling to one time be on the other side talking about, well, what are the players doing right now? What do they think about going for those lineups? And I don't know, I really enjoy that. I'm regularly streaming beginning this year in December and so on as well. I guess the more prize money I earn, the longer I can try to build up a stream. I really like talking with people, I like teaching them. We actually end up in useful discussions. Those are kind of the fun things besides always competing, always trying to the best and always having to win, when you can just hang out with the community and give something back as well. Yeah, I just really want to keep performing well, I want to keep doing well, and maybe at some point I'm going to wake up and be like, okay, actually it's all going really, really well now. Like always, I'm super grateful for everyone that is supporting me, everyone that's like, I don't know, every tweet or every like message I get that says like, I voted you for my champion, I believe in you, nice decks. Like all those little things, I really appreciate them. And yeah, I'm gonna try to give you those 4 packs.
Welcome back, loyal viewers of twitch.tv/play Hearthstone. My name is TJ Sanders, and I'm joined by Nathan the Admiral. That's Admiral Zamora. Hi. 1-0 lead for Jing in this quarterfinals matchup. A world's spot on the line for Jing, and he started off with a very crucial victory.
Yeah, it was about as nail biter as you can imagine, down to just a pitten's worth of life before Crystal Smith Kangor was able to apply whatever crazy science he's coming up with and bringing him back to life. I just couldn't believe that I was like, wow, this Crystal Smith Kangor is actually going to recover. And he just drew Blessing Kings. I'm like, oh, that's basically lethal.
And it turned out to be.
Sometimes healing, it's really good.
I would agree, but now we're going to move into game number 2, Jing, on the Tempo, Pirate Rogue, whatever you want to call it, Viper, Odd Mage.
Now, admittedly, I actually have 0 experience with this Tempo Rogue deck.
I have a lot.
Okay, that's great, because I was going to hope you had a lot, because I was going to, basically swap roles here with you and just ask you about the Tempo Rogue.
It reminds me a lot of Miracle Rogue, honestly, like the old Miracle Rogue, except without the Gadgetzan Auctioneer package, you have the Myra's Unstable Element package, which is just 1 card in the package.
I mean, there's a lot of great cards. I mean, what can you tell me about these cards?
Well, Raiding Party allows you to have some of that additional resource gain in sort of the early to mid stages of the game. And Myra's is that late game punch that the old Gadget Auctioneer package. So, and besides that, it just has a lot of tempo tools, like the name suggests when we put it on the graphic earlier in the lineup, with Backstab, with Preparations, with Eviscerate, and a pair of Saps as well. So this deck can snowball very hard in the early game, and we've seen a couple of Tempo Rogues this tournament just go in with like 6-6, 8-8 Edwins and just win the game off the back of that. And that's what this deck offers you over Odd Rogue, which can still play Edwin, but can't play Backstab, can't play Preparation. So just another of the many ways that this deck can win.
And how does that fare versus Odd Mage? Because to me, it feels like this can be a pretty tough matchup if Viper gets on the ground running pretty early.
Yeah, I honestly think that Odd Mage is just a pretty good all-around deck, especially the way Viper's built it. It's a little bit different than what you normally see from Odd Mage if you're playing on ladder, because it's got additional secrets plus Subject 9, but it also has Archmage and Tinnitus in the deck, which gives it that late game punch to get over that hump that some control decks can reach when they feel like they've run you out of resources. They've removed your Ragnaros from Jan'alai, and they're like, okay, I'm good now. You hit him with the Archmage and Tinnitus.
Bam.
You play a cheap spell.
Bomb.
Sometimes it's even a splitting image.
Zoink.
And then you get another Archmage Antonidas if they attack into it.
That part I did know. I played a lot of the Odd Mage.
Yeah. But because of this kind of hedging against a lot of things that Viper could face, he has cut some in the early game. No Dire Moles. The only 1-drops in the deck are Secret Keeper, Firefly, and Daring Fire Eater, which Daring Fire Eater not really a 1-drop in the I can play this on turn 1 and gain an advantage sense.
Faced with a pretty tough decision here for Viper. I think actually it's pretty rare that you have a deck where all of your plays have merit aside from Daring Fire Eater. But all of these plays have merit except for Daring Fire Eater.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's a lot of reasons to use coin and try to get ahead, you know, and go 3 into 3. You know, the nature of an odd cost deck is, while you'd like to use your hero power, with Mage, a lot of times it feels like the opposite. It's like you don't want to use your hero power. You have it there just in case you need to.
Yeah, there's certain situations where that becomes different, where you have Jan'ala in your hand and you're trying to play it on 7 in a matchup where you know that it's going to be impactful. Say, against pretty much anything except Odd Paladin. But yeah, going to coin out the Pyromaniac here, which I like because it's going into turn 3, which...
Yeah, this hand's getting kind of ugly for Jing as well. I mean, we have some drops in a row that are going to happen here, but they are not lining up super well versus what Viper's going to do. Dread Corsair, it gets Daring Fire Eater, Viper draws a card. If it does nothing, well, that's really bad. You're going to start taking a lot of damage. Even when you follow up with the Faldori Strider, Viper is so likely to, you know, be able to take advantage of that in some capacity that it's like I'm not really sure that Jing has a great chance to win this game.
Yeah, the one thing that he does have going for him is Odd Mage can sometimes be kind of clunky. Because like you said, there's so many plays that you can do in a turn, but without too many 1-drops, it's packed full of 3-drops. There are a significant amount of 5-drops in the deck. So when you get to like 4 mana and 6 mana, those turns are usually quite weak for Odd Mage, and that's where you have to capitalize. And honestly, I think that's where the Tempo Rogue can try and take advantage. Yes, this is a weak turn, but once you get to turn 4, he can play Faldori Strider, and Viper's going to play a 3-mana card most of the time.
Yeah, you know, I started to think about this sequence a lot as well, because Odd Mage is one of the decks where I have found that no play is as obvious as you think it is. There are a lot of different ways that you can take this deck, and something I'm looking at is if Viper goes with Daring Fighter Eater and just hero powers, Faldori Strider is quite powerful in play. I mean, he has Splitting Image to follow that, so he doesn't really have to think much about the Pyromancer. So I think that is the line, but I think there is a lot of consideration for doing things like just playing Splitting Image right now and not doing anything afterwards. And so that gives you like a little bit of flexibility on the following turn with development, where maybe you just want to drop Fireflies and pick Faldori Strider and trade over things. But I think this is just too appealing for Viper overall to pass up, because some of the draws he has are massive. And one of the big ones I'm thinking about is Kirin Tor Mage, and the other one I was thinking about was Secret Keeper.
Yeah. Secret Keeper allows him to fill that 4 mana really well next turn.
It's always a dangerous card, but not if the spiders don't come up. So now Viper has some thinking to do.
Mirror Image not the best card, because about the strongest minion that Jing would play would be like a Captain Greenskin.
I'll take a 5/4.
I'll take a 5/4 too, but that's a legendary. It's a one-of. It doesn't line up well onto the board. So most of the time you're going to get like a Firefly or a South Sea deckhand.
Well, the thing about it is if Jing had those cards, I think they likely would have come down by now.
Well, he did play one South Sea deckhand, but he also didn't really have great plays on like turns 1 and 2 outside of just play.
It's like the
South Sea deckhand.
like the dagger up on turn 2 is really what piques my interest a lot about it. You know, you're going to dagger up a ton with this deck as it is. There's not actually any 2-cost minions in the deck. But then on 3, he didn't see Poison in Dread Corsair. He just saw Dread Corsair. He didn't see like a Shadow Blade come down and do anything. You know, it's like that's a card I almost assume isn't in my opponent's hand with the way that they had daggered up on turn 2. You know, the cards I'm really thinking about, I'm thinking about like Raiding Party. I'm thinking about Vile Spine, Leroy, Myra's, Greenskin. I'm thinking about the heavier cards in the deck right now.
That's
if
a fair
I'm in
point.
Viper's spot. And I think that's one of the reasons why Viper, you know, likely goes with Splitting Image in this spot, is that with hero power, he's going to be able to leverage really well against the high-cost minions.
Yeah, but Jing with the Eviscerate pickup actually has a decent way to start clearing through this board. Because he gets the attack into the Secret Keeper. Splitting Image comes out. He trades over that with the 4-4. Knows there's no Secret, so can Eviscerate the Pyromaniac and have a lead on the board. His Faldori Strider would be taken care of by the ping.
Ping Secret. That's the next turn for Viper.
Yeah.
And this was part of the setup with the Splitting Image, is you wanted to hit this spot exactly. Maybe that one, but you know, we're staring at a Shadow Blade.
Yeah, but it does cycle, and right now, Viper's follow-up to these secrets is not fantastic with Baku in hand. I think he wants to try and search for a Kirin Mage.
I could see like a pair of 1-2s here as well. I mean, Shadow Blade lines up really poorly into 1-2s.
Yeah, he can actually just play 3 1-2s, if that's the case.
Yeah, because he gets the Firefly Battlecry.
And then hopefully try and bait out a Shadow Blade attack, and then can play the Black Cat with the Secret alongside of it. Has 2 draws at that point to pick up Kirin Mage.
And this is what I mean. There's like so many little things that happen with this deck in my time playing it that, you know, I lost like my first 4 or so games, and every single one of them I spotted something I did wrong where it was like, that was such a good play though. It was just so obvious that what I wasn't accounting for was the following turn as well as I could have been. And it just turned into a muddled mixture of nothing when I was said and done. I wasn't leaving myself enough on the back end. And Viper, you take a look at his hand. Instead, he's left himself with quite a bit on the back end of this, and really, I think, made good utility of his early cards.
Yeah. On the other side, Jing, though, left with a very awkward situation. Vilespine Slayer is a tough card to use because he only has 1 copy, and if Jan'alai comes out on turn 7, currently he has no way to deal with it, and that will lock him out of the game if he uses Vilespine Slayer early. But on the other hand, SI7 Agent as just a vanilla 3/3, not great. If he plays Prep, he doesn't have Prep for Prep Myras for additional resource on the turn, Prep Raiding Party to get the guaranteed combo and have all the mana still available. And then, do you swing into a 1-2 with your Shadow Blade? That's just awkward turn no matter which way you put it.
Yeah, and really I think the big story that's telling about this is that this has all come with Jing dealing 0 damage to Viper so far. Jing is not trying to recover and then find an Auctioneer and have a crazy turn where he burst combos them. It is by, you know, all means a tempo deck. And so the big thing that Jing has going for him is that he has Faldori Strider ambushes shuffled into the deck. He can hit those and maybe get some presence going. But outside of that, he is really in bad shape.
Yep.
Looking at the Black Cat here.
Yeah. Black Cat, and then you can evaluate. He could play Secret, or he could try and go for the spell damage buff Arcane Missiles to try and get the ping. Cinderstorm, though.
I'm curious if you hero power first, actually, because that would minimize the amount of damage that the Vilespine would absorb in this instance.
Yeah. Yeah, he's thinking about it.
What to do? What to do?
Yeah, I think that's better.
Yeah, 'cause you don't have anything else to play, and you would never trade in the 1-2 if you didn't have to.
Yeah, and this damage is not at all irrelevant. Putting him down to 18. That's only 9 pings!
It's an okay pickup.
I think that's a really reasonable pickup.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing is that it protects him from the damage.
Yeah, the issue is that it's fending off what's in board now, but it's not really making progress. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. That is massive right now.
Yep.
Double the damage of your hero power's damage and healing effects. So that 2 damage hero power, thanks to Baku, becomes 4 damage, thanks to Clockwork Automaton. And one of the things I've really enjoyed about this card is how it interacts with, like, Daring Fire Eater. And, you know, with a second copy of itself, or, you know, with 2 Daring Fire Eaters, like, being able to go Daring Fighter, Clockwork Automaton, Ping as a 9-mana combo that deals 12 damage is one of the most delightful feelings in the world. I'm like,
Yes.
I just Pyroblasted in an Odd Mage deck.
Yeah.
It's also just a good tempo play here. I mean, this is, you know, Mage's best impression of Vilespine as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Oddly enough, and you can call me dumb on this if you want, but I would have liked the ping to face.
Wow, that's really odd.
Yeah, I know. Because then he has to trade in the SI7 agent and the Shadow Blade. He would go down to 9.
Could draw a backstab.
Could have drawn a backstab. That would have been really bad.
Yeah. In this case, Jing simply had to use a Leroy.
Yeah.
So
this is better.
Call me dumb.
I was just trying to think through the options, you know. That's my job, is to say the dumb things. Your job as the analyst is to correct me.
Oh, I thought my job as the other analyst, I guess. I guess I did ask you to take the analyst. This game, you know, kind of spelled itself out in terms of just how it ended up panning out. Viper's deck is really well matched up, it seems, to me at least. I just started beating him up.
And I think that was a hero power to face.
Well, with 2 explosive runes and a Cinderstorm, that's probably the way to do it. It's an ambush!
Oh, raiding party, though. But the thing is, well, Jing doesn't have a choice. That's the thing about the counterspell, and he can combo it anyway. So the prep just gives him the extra mana.
Well,
so
it
now
plays around the counterspell is what the prep does.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, he's drawn both Shadow Blades.
He's drawn both Shadow Blades, so...
Oh, wow. That's okay. That's not nearly as good of a draw then.
But the Spooner coming out from the deck ends up being pretty good in that scenario.
Can he win through this spot? I mean, he's going to take 4 from this explosive runes and drop to 8, and then he's going to have to fend off a Cinderstorm and explosive runes again. Like,
Well, he's not necessarily taking 4. You could just play Captain Greens can only take 2.
you gotta kill your opponent too.
Yeah. So I imagine an attack on one of these 1/1s to rule out Mirror Image.
Splitting Image. He's already seen Splitting Image.
Yeah. Oh, he's already seen Splitting
Yeah,
Image.
yeah.
So yeah, he has these narrowed down to explosive roots and Mirror Entity. So he's got to think: do I want to give my opponent a 5/4, or do I want to take some extra damage?
Yeah, he's gonna give away the. Oh, the runes was set first actually.
Oh yeah.
Oh, is that in this sequence from after your opponent plays a minion? But explosive runes also says after. So in this spot, Viper actually could have gotten a 5/4 and have blown up the green skin. Or was the runes already in play?
I don't know.
Well, that's kind of weird. I think it's... Pretty solid outcome. Either way, Viper's just enormously ahead in this game.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe Baku in this situation. Your opponent has no cards, but with 18 left, Sap could be a situation where you lose the game by getting greedy and playing something large.
Yeah. Typically, if your opponent has something you can kill with anything, it's probably better to do that than play Baku.
Yeah.
It's pretty rare that Baku is your best play.
Yeah, would have set him up for a guaranteed lethal effectively outside of just a Sap draw or Myra's into Sap.
Yeah, and Viper is doing the aggressive route, and I love this because this is how you lock your opponent out of the game. Even in the face of a Myra's here, Viper, I think, has locked Jing out of the game.
Yeah. Plays his Firefly.
Yeah.
Explosive runes will trigger. He'll go down to 4, and the hero power kill him next turn. Viper's padding the series up.
Dominant game in game number 2, and this is one of the reasons I think that Odd Mage was such a brilliant choice, is that almost nobody had this on their radar, and it's been pulling bans in a lot of situations where you kind of look down and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to ban Odd Mage. That means it's done its job, because that deck, frankly, I think is super underplayed. I think it's quite underrepresented, but it's quite scary.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, even the times it hasn't been banned, it's been taking wins pretty much non-stop.
Yeah.
Viper ties up the series, but I'm still worried about his overall chances in the series. That Rogue deck from Viper, Malagos Rogue, has struggled in all of his matches thus far, and this is the matchup where I think it just can struggle the most.
I mean, this is your pick.
He's my pick, and I honestly like the Malagos Rogue because if you look at all the lineups as a whole, Malagos Rogue just lines up well. It's just a combo deck that oftentimes gets its combo off faster. Hasn't been the case for Viper. He's had some games where his key combo piece that he needs is in like the bottom 8 of his deck, and he's lost like 80% matchups because of it. Maybe that's a telling sign. Maybe that means that now in 2 unfavorable matchups, he's just going to have everything he needs by turn 7.
I don't think that's how math works, but
sometimes it's how life works.
It is sometimes how it works, yes.
Life comes at you fast.
You're just saying lines.
For everything else, there's Malagos Rogue.
Amen, brother. Worlds spot on the line for Jing in this one. Viper's already going through to Worlds.
But prize money on the line for him. And
Yeah.
just, to be honest, the potential for the ultimate storyline. He gets second in the championship earlier on this last year, and then he gets first in another one later on.
That's the only step up he could take.
It really is.
It's Murloc Paladin for Viper. He's taken on the mid-range hunter from Jing. Jing has brought one card in particular that I'm curious why it's there. It's Bear Shark. I don't get it. What are you fighting off against with Bear Shark right now? You trying to have a minion that doesn't get flanking striked? I don't think so, because he banned Hunter away.
Well, what's the #1 predator, or what's the #1 thing that a bear preys on? Honey. What's the #1 thing that a shark preys on?
Fish?
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. A honeyfish? I don't think so.
I wonder.
Yeah, I'm lost both on the choice and on your analogy.
I think flanking strike's correct.
But he banned Hunter.
Yeah, I don't know then.
Quickly.
Priest?
What does Priest do to it?
Nothing. That's the thing.
Priest doesn't have a 3 damage targeted effect. That's what I mean. It's not a bad card. It's just I just look at it and I wonder why. Everything else Jing has done has been so good and so clean and so well thought out. And then I look at Bear Shark and I go, how did you get in here? Took place of a Dire Frenzy.
Or Tundra Rhino.
Or perhaps Tundra Rhino, yeah. Usually it's the Savannah Highmane that's second that took place of the Tundra Rhino.
Well, Bloodyface's analysis earlier on, when he won his decider match to get to the quarterfinal, he said that he honestly doesn't like Tundra Rhino. He likes one of them, because you'll find it for Master Call eventually. But Baited Arrow seems like a better call than Bear Shark in the current meta. But gonna tracking, find Deathstalker Rexar, and honestly, he's got answers just for days. Corn Flanking Strike to answer just about anything that Viper could play on turn 3.
Yeah, it's looking a bit rough for Viper right now. You know, when Hunter has the answers, it's a very different beast than when it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when it doesn't have answers, it's still a deck that can fight on board with just, you know, a bunch of minion stuff. When it has the Flanking Strike, when it has the Deathstalker Rexar, when it's got the Master's Call and it just has a mixture of everything to fuel itself and to generate tempo, my goodness, this deck is so hard to beat.
Yeah, and this is one of the downfalls of Murloc Paladin. We talked about the consistency earlier. Yes, when you get Murloc Tidecaller into Rockpool Hunter, you're always in a great position, especially when you're on the play. But when you miss a 1-drop, nothing that you play has an immediate impact on the board, except for Bluegill Warrior. What are you going to do, trade that into a Dire Maul? Forget about it.
Yeah, I wouldn't even say Bluegill has immediate impact. It usually immediately impacts with something.
The light protects me.
That impact is quite minimal, though.
Yeah.
Call it more like a nuisance.
Even a Candle Shop picked up can take out this Nightmare Amalgam, play Animal Companion.
This little piggy went to Amalgam. Just keep the board contained. I think that's really the plan for Jing here. I mean, we saw how fast he took Rexar off the tracking. clearly has practiced the matchup, and to some degree.
Well, I mean, what was it, like 6 months ago? I'm pretty sure everybody practiced this matchup like 100 times a day.
Yeah, that was 4-mana Call to Arms territory as
It was
well.
like a year ago, actually. I don't know.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Yeah. Sometimes Hearthstone days blend together.
Yeah. He's hunting him down either way. Maybe the first bit of board that Viper's going to get to hang on to has appeared.
Master's Call, if that finds Timberwolf, then no.
Forget about it.
Yeah.
Viper's down to 2 cards in hand. Now, Master's Call does have some negative impacts with it as well, like opening Divine Favor over to Viper's side. He's included 2 of those in this Paladin deck. So Jing does have to think about how that can really change the game as well. At some point, Viper can just put enough stuff on board that you're like, well, I can't kill all of these, and then suddenly one Megasaur changes the game. But a number of Murlocs have already been played. The ones that are left have lower health totals. There's 2 Knife Jugglers in there, and you have Rexar in hand. I think I like the Master's Call.
Looks like Jing likes Tundra Rhino. Whoa, okay. Well, this sets him up for...
I think that's totally reasonable.
Master's Call to come in, but 2 Gentle Megasaur targets. I don't know if these can be impactful enough.
Health or 1/1s would have been the best outcome, because it would have left Viper with a chance to draw Sunkeeper Tarim or draw a buff card or what have you. These 3, however, are the only 3 that don't affect the combat, I believe, in some mechanism. Like, they have actual 0 board effect. And so now, the Murloc's job is to trade into a 2/3 Tundra Rhino.
Yeah. Even like Death Rattle summon 2 1/1 plants would have given him like a Sunkeeper Tarim out to maybe blow up the game.
It would have at least forced a Rexar or something like that. Like,
yeah.
Jing has 2 copies of Unleash the Hounds, so you're worried about that as well, but I think that's the nature of this particular matchup, is Viper's deck is meant to punish decks that are slow to start. It's not meant to really fight on board and have a crushing lead.
Well, Tarim's good, but this is about one of the worst Tarims you could possibly imagine.
Yeah, but when else is he going to play it? Hit for 5 and then Tarim. I think that's the play.
Ouch.
When else are you going to use this card? Your opponent's about to play more stuff.
Yeah.
You have a Leroy and a token that you can make. This is about to be a takeover.
What's the maximum possible burst that Viper can do?
Like 12. Double Blessing of Might, Leroy.
Double Blessing of Might, Leroy. Throwing a Bluegill Warrior.
14.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the most expensive card in the deck, Sunkeeper Tarim. It's not like he's going to draw Lich King. It's not like he's going to pick up Tyrion.
No Stone Hills, no...
It is feast or famine. You either kill him very quickly or you don't.
Divine Favor into Call to Arms. Knife Juggler's protected by 2 Righteous Protectors.
We're going deep.
But Rexar answers that.
Yeah.
Ooh, well. Yeah, but with no Tarim left, I honestly don't know what Viper's hoping for here. There's 2 copies of Unleash the Hounds in Jing's list. Hasn't drawn them yet, but if he does, that's a big deal.
My brain is trying to figure something out. I mean, Divine Favor I think would have been okay this turn. Jing's about to empty the hand.
Still gonna think this one through because from Jing's position, it would be the worst possible situation you could ever imagine if he throws away this kind of lead. But honestly, to throw away this kind of lead, you'd have to do nothing for like 3 turns.
I don't even know how you could unless you just didn't play things.
I'm pretty sure if he just didn't play anything for 3 turns, eventually he'd come back to his computer and Viper would have a perfect board to be cleaned up by Deathstalker or Rexar. Like,
it's like Jing did the hard work. He checked the first 3 threats that Viper played in a row and took almost no damage from it. That's really the difficult part of the deck. The initial impact. Oh!
all right, Knife Juggler first, Knife Juggler last.
Yikes.
Snipe the 2-1. Snipe the 1-1.
Sometimes it just bees that way.
Yeah. And unleash.
Sometimes. I mean, just pick a card in Jing's deck that wasn't any good here. Bear Shark, I guess.
He can even build a beast here. He can build a beast and play his whole hand besides tracking. Or he
It just does the exact opposite of what DJ just said. Oh, it's so beautiful. That could not have been any better for me.
I guess looking for a Scavenging Hyena is the way to win the game the fastest.
You can play your whole hand except tracking right here. Tracking.
But imagine if he had built a Zombies and got Snow Flipper Penguin for Scavenging Hyena. That would have been just one more health,
The
one more
game
power on
is
board.
over. What are you
Yes,
talking about?
it is. And that means Jing's 1 win away from qualifying to the World Championship and booking himself a spot in that top 4. And he has looked calm. He's only lost 2 games this entire tournament.
And one of them was in this set.
One of them was in this set.
And, you know, honestly, Viper looks still pretty darn calm as well, which I am very impressed by, because if I was sitting there, I'd be sweating bullets.
Well, I mean, when he got that Gentle Megasaur adapt option on his Murlocs, he just kind of laughed to himself and said, yeah, this is my life right now. I chose to bring this deck. I feel like that first game, like this entire series, is just hinging on that 2 damage away from winning.
Yep.
But now, I mean, it all comes down to Jing. 1 more victory, and he's through to that top 4, through to the World Championship, booking another ticket for China as a region. So a lot of pressure on both these players. But we're going to see who's going to come out on top. More Hearthstone Championship Tour action coming up right after this. Welcome back to the HCT Winter Championship. We're currently in the quarterfinals. It's coming down to the wire here. Jing currently leads 2-1 against Viper. And Admirable.
Yeah.
He's got Rogue left.
Yeah.
He's
And
fighting against Murloc Paladin and Malagos Rogue. I honestly like both of those matchups.
yeah, me too. I think that the Rogue deck from Viper is really in bad shape just overall in the totality of the match. But specifically versus this Rogue deck, where on earth does he find himself living against this deck? Like, maybe because of evasion you're able to stay alive for that extra turn you need, but
He would have to have like his full combo in his opening hand.
yeah, it just does not function very well in the matchup. Like, the one way I could see him getting an advantage is if Jing's opener is an Edwin opener, and ends up landing on, like, you know, running into a sap from Viper. But he's played against the Murloc Paladin first. But Jing's hand in this game is not looking so good. This is, you know, quite reminiscent of the first game that he'd played with this deck, where he had Vilespine and Leroy early on, drew one of the Shadow Blades early, drew the second Shadow Blade early, and just really never got anything going.
Yeah. Like you said, looking very similar. Viper, on the other hand, I'm pitching everything away but the Hydrologist. That's I don't like Nightmare Amalgam in the opening hand because you'd much rather that be literally any other Murloc at this point.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty much going to be fishing for one-drops and then payoffs to those one-drops. And so while Amalgam's a great card, it's not a payoff card. You know, something like Megasaur or Rock Pool Hunter really could be. So I would like you know, potentially
just
hang on
pitch
to the
everything.
Hydrologist.
Okay.
But I just think there's too many good cards to offer from this deck that I think you should be mulliganing extremely aggressively for the right cards. You want to have your strong 1-drops, you want to have your Rock Pool Hunters, and you want to have your Murloc War Leaders and Megasaurs. Those two are kind of the same.
Yeah. Honestly, I like Hydrologist as a keep, but pretty much only if you're keeping something else along with it, without presenting
Like a Rock Pool or a Tide Caller.
like a Rock Pool or a Tide Caller, or I guess that's it.
Yeah, that is.
Well, I was thinking maybe he had
Oh, now the Divine Favors show up.
Tide.
In the
Tide
matchup
Hunter.
where your opponent's going to empty their hand basically as quickly as possible.
Well, Jake's
now
not really
he
going to
draws it.
empty his hand.
Well, I'm just saying from, you know, Viper's perspective, like everything has pretty much gone wrong for Viper, I'd say, in, you know, the last couple games. And that's like the mentality that you can find yourself falling into, and something that I have personally, you know, started to believe that Viper is not susceptible to, is falling victim to that why me style of mentality when things are going rough.
Yeah.
But it's certainly not a welcome sight.
So many.
Also, just kind of goes against what the matchup is about.
Choose soon.
This is called Tempo Rogue, after all, and paying 3 mana to draw cards, while sometimes good, doesn't give you any tempo.
Yeah.
And if you have one dead turn, that could be enough for the Rogue to take advantage of it
So
and
many
snowball to a victory.
Quite surprised that Jing ends up attacking the 1/1 in this spot. Why wouldn't he push that damage, I wonder? Is this because the hand is so weak?
Maybe because of Righteous Protector, exactly. And I love the Bluegill Warrior here because he can follow this up with Ward Leader to push additional damage.
Yep. Looking at Jing's deck, there is no Fan of Knives. No shenanigans like that. Is that a second Deadly Poison?
This is like
Oh, it's prep.
exactly the hand
Yeah, this
that
is-
he had in the game that he lost earlier.
This is problem. Jing so far is not able to do any minion stuff on turn 3 or turn 4. Now, this deck really is living and dying a lot by, you know, either having Raiding Party or having like a Dread Corsair and SI7 agent turn. Not by having the 1 copy of Vilespine and the 1 copy of Leroy in the 2 games you've had it in top 8 thus far. Now, granted, we do expect him to struggle in this matchup
So
often anyway.
many options.
But I haven't watched a lot of Jing play. I haven't seen him throughout the entire, you know, seasonal year and playing in tour stops and you know, through playoffs. This is, you know, the matches I've seen this week, and that's what I've seen from him. I don't know how susceptible he is to a mentality of when things are going wrong. That's been a theme that's communicated to us, you know, from the players constantly. That mindset is everything.
Yeah. Seems to be a pretty calm individual, though. But seeing this hand, you got to be, at the very least, a little bit worried. And if he doesn't find an answer to this board, and Gentle Megasaur comes down on 2 Murlocs, already at a low life total, finds South Sea Deckhand, which,
That is quite necessary.
yeah, he can pick apart this Ward Leader with South Sea Deckhand Deadly Poison.
Yeah, I think it's like Deckhand over the 1/1 and then Shadowblade, I think, and attack the 3.
Yeah, just to save some damage.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you need every single point of life you can get at this stage.
Yeah. May have to prep out Vilespine next turn just for that additional tempo gain.
Yeah, and that's honestly not like the worst thing in the world, is if your opponent plays Megasaur in that spot, you have a Shadowblade set up for like a prep Deadly Poison Vilespine, and, you know, suddenly you'd have a 3/4 to nothing. The South Sea Deckhand is at least giving him some room to believe, hey, I have a chance in this game. It also is right into the turn where Viper is basically, you know, coming close to emptying the hand and wanting to use Divine Favor. So he's got that going as well. He doesn't know that part. But, you know, I think he's going to be able to piece some stuff together here if Viper has 2 turns in a row where it's just, it's big thing, and then suddenly stop and think.
Yeah, wise play.
Now, I guess the real question for Viper is, you know, not really this turn in particular, but on the follow-up. What's the best draw, and how do you take advantage of it? Health looks pretty appealing.
Health does look appealing, but +1/+1 pushes that additional damage. And are you super worried about 1 health or 2 health being that much different than 4 health?
Yeah, the one thing that comes to mind for me is like
Backstab.
it's backstab and like eviscerate. You know, like sometimes you have to just play eviscerate off the cuff, and you know, also just the direct attack. Like right now, as far as Viper's concerned, Jing doesn't have a piece removal in hand. It's pretty hard to determine that. So this protects it from the Shadow Blade, so it at least forces some sort of action from Jing.
Yeah, but Jing does have a board clear here with, as you mentioned the turn prior, Preparation, Deadly Poison plus Vile Spine.
Yeah, and it's drawn pretty much a perfect card to go with that next turn as well. Hench Clan with the dagger up.
Yeah. Hench Clan with dagger up. Leroy's going to be dead, but the bonus of this is that he empties his hand for a possible Divine Favor, which we can see both players' hands, so we know Viper has it, but there's 2 copies of it in Viper's list, which means he's much more likely to draw it than the traditional Odd Paladin, which lately has cut 1. And honestly, if Viper does fall behind on board, I don't think he's pieced together enough early game damage to really threaten.
It's another theme we've seen amongst the most winning players this year is the ability to seemingly waste a ton of cards. Like the moment you're behind, you're like, oh, I gotta get this back to even or ahead. Use everything.
Okay, well that could change things.
Yeah, it's right now. It's the fact that Divine Favor is there. It's just one. Like Viper basically just didn't draw a card on one of his turns.
Yeah.
That card is awfully painful when you're in a must-win game.
The light protects me.
Yeah, I just don't see the option outside this.
Yeah, and the thing for Viper is the way the deck works is it basically just goes all in, and once it runs out of steam, wow.
Wow.
Who goes there?
I don't want to call it early, but this one,
Well, I mean, yeah, there's still some good draws left in Viper's deck.
Call to Arms would be one of them.
Yeah, Call to Arms is the best one.
Leroy's
not bad. Leroy, you know, now your opponent's life is effectively at 11 instead. So that's the next goal for Viper is, can I just play enough stuff to chip away at a life total here?
I think the answer to that question is no.
I think it could be yes. You know, I'm thinking if Hydrologist does anything on the front of protecting a minion or you know, it's just little by little.
The problem is Divine Favor is almost certainly going to be a dead card for most of the game. Unless Jing picks up Myra's Unstable Element and plays it, he's most likely going to be playing every single card that he draws off the top.
Well, let me ask you a question. If Jing drew Myra's Unstable Portal next turn, is it getting played?
That's actually a great question.
Okay, well now I have no hope for Viper winning this game. Yeah, that's the play.
That is the play.
Because you get to cut down both of the other whelps.
And have a 3/3 and a 6/2. Push 9.
Nothing. Viper's play hopes that Jing's last card is Myra's Unstable Element, and that he plays it. Yeah. I don't blame him for making this play.
Yeah.
I don't think that what he did is a bad play by any means. I think if you think that's your best chance to win, so be it. It's just, you know, I'm looking at the hands. I have the liberty of seeing it from the top down. Just keeps the extra 1/1.
Health really doesn't matter in this situation because if you keep control of the board throughout the game, and extra attacks honestly is better because what do you lose to?
Smart.
Probably Call to Arms. And not being able to have enough attacks and your opponent landing a Blessing of Kings or a Blessing of Might and you not being able to deal with it. So having the extra attacks to get through, say, that second Righteous Protector, or be able to have that one extra attack to go through to a Knife Juggler, that's honestly more important than pushing the extra damage at this stage of the game.
Viper's going to get some bad news here in a second. Make that ultra bad news.
Gotta say, this one seems like it's pretty much done.
Yeah.
Viper hoping for not a playable card off the top, but Clan Thug is one of those cards that when you're behind, you just get even further behind every passing turn.
Yeah.
And even Called Arms at this point, I don't think saves him. Even Sunkeeper Tarim to place on the side of the board.
Okay, Call to Arms, Juggler, another Juggler, Righteous Protector. It had to be literally perfect on the outcomes here.
Sunkeeper Tarim would have actually bought him a little bit of time. I don't think enough time, especially with the growing Clan Thugs, Jing would have had health to work with, but concedes! And that means Jing moving on to the top 4 and booking himself a spot at the World Championship.
And this has been something that we've been talking about the entire weekend, is how the Chinese players have performed over the previous championships. And now it's the opposite. Jing has come correct. He lost 2 games to get to this part. 9-2 game score with a 3-0 record is extremely impressive. And it's with decks that are very against the norm. And his play, honestly, looked pretty impeccable to me throughout this. I am extremely impressed with Jing, and a wonderful representative for China in the World Championship.
Checking every box along the way, and just, you know, near immaculate play.